Have you ever wondered what this weird contraption is in the barn? Well, I'm here to tell you today exactly what it is. It's a poop slinger. You put a little nugget of poo, you sling it over the fence, and it's tomorrow's problem. I'm just joking. Actually, it's a grazing muzzle. It slows down how quickly and how much grass your horse is intaking. There's a couple different reasons why you might be considering putting a grazing muzzle on your horse. Saoirse, as you might know, she is an easy keeper. You can probably tell just by looking at her. She's a chunky monkey. So we have to put a grazing muzzle on her so she doesn't eat too much grass too quickly. Because when they do that, the sugars in the grass, they ferment in the hindgut, and that kills a lot of good bacteria. That death of good bacteria releases toxins into the bloodstream, and then that triggers a release of inflammatory histamines, essentially, and that causes the connective tissue in the hoof, called the lamina, to inflame. If they inflame too much, they actually detach. There's a bone in the hoof called a coffin bone that can actually rotate once it's attached from the hoof wall. It can actually protrude through the sole of the hoof if it's severe enough. So it's a big deal. That whole thing is called laminitis. We really want to avoid that. So the best way to cut that back if they're not being stalled is to, when they're in turnout, put a grazing muzzle on them. And as you can see, there's like a little hole piece. This just makes it so that the horse isn't inhaling their grass. They're only able to get little bits at a time. Some horses eat out of boredom as well. So this helps prevent mindless eating. It also prevents the need of having to isolate your horse. If your horse has to be taken off of pasture, for example, and put on a dry lot, a lot of times they're going to be the only horse in the dry lot. That's pretty sad. Horses are herd animals. They really should be with other horses. So if you just put a grazing muzzle on for several hours each day, you can prevent having to isolate them, and you get to keep them in the herd. You should always make sure that your grazing muzzle is prescribed by your veterinarian. Have a chat with them. It's not for every horse. Also, you're going to want to make sure that it fits properly. If it's too tight, it can restrict circulation. If it's too loose, it'll start rubbing. You can actually get hair loss and even bleeding down through the tissues if it's rubbing severely enough. So you're going to want to make sure it fits properly. And you're also not keeping it on for too long at a time. And if it's too hot, consider giving your horse a breather and just stalling them for the day or putting them on a dry lot. So as you can see, this muzzle has a full closed basket and it's attached to the halter piece. Now this doesn't work for me and my horse because I think she gets a little too hot with these continuous basket casings here. And also, she hates this so much. When I put it on her, she puts her head sky high. And even though she's only 15 hands, I'm only 5'2". So I really struggle to put this on her. So I thought I would try something new. Putting a halter on her that has these nice little comfortable padded pieces on the pole piece and then the nose band as well. It also has some little fuzzies on the inside, so that should help prevent rubbing. And this new basket muzzle that I found, it has little, I think it's called Easy Breeze, where it allows for the nostrils to have airflow so that the horse isn't getting too hot. Our nostrils are nice and clear. Also, the little grazing window is a little bit bigger than the other grazing muzzles I've tried in the past, so maybe she won't be quite as frustrated with this and she'll actually keep it on. It also, what I like about this is once I have the halter on her and she has no idea I'm about to ambush her with the grazing basket, I can attach it while this is on her. I think that'll be a lot easier rather than trying to put something over her ear. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a try. Alrighty, so I've got my handy dandy halter. I'm gonna put it on her just how I would put any other halter on her. And she is none the wiser about what we're about to do. See, normally if I have a grazing muzzle, she sees it, she knows exactly what it is, and she raises her head up really high. I'm just gonna make sure this is a good fit. Gotta tighten these straps up. I bought this halter specifically for her grazing muzzle. Okay, so that's as tight as it goes. As tight as it goes over here. Hi, friend. Oh, she's not sick. She eats a lot of white clover, and it makes her hypersalivate because she's mildly allergic to a certain kind of fungus in the white clover. Okay, so here, I'm just gonna snap this off. I think we're gonna break through. Don't worry, we're coming out so you can see. Okay. All right. So all I'm doing, if you wanna come over here. So nostril part up. I'm just gonna thread this through. Oh, I know. She's like, I don't like this at all. I don't like where this is going. Attach this here. Kind of pour her little snoot. Now, normally, to get her snoot in the basket would be a huge struggle. And granted, this is the first time I'm using this model on her, so we'll see how we do next time, but so far, so good. And then the bottom piece. All right. So we are now going to check to make sure it's not too loose, not too tight. So I'm making sure there's a little bit of a gap between her mouth. Oh my gosh, you're slobbering like crazy. So it's not too loose, not too tight. She has plenty of room for her nostrils. She's got a nice big open window. Oh, everybody's been eating the white clover, it looks like. So yeah, we have a good halter right here at the moment. There is a feature that I really like, a nice breakaway strap. A lot of the nylon halters aren't breakaway, so if your horse gets in a position where they need to pull their head back, you risk potentially them breaking some vertebra in the neck. That can cause paralysis or even death. So having a breakaway is a super awesome feature for when you have to have a grazing muzzle on your horse. So, literally got on my head. Thank you, Saoirse. I was gonna shower anyway. You didn't need to do that. After you put a grazing muzzle on your horse, you should monitor them to make sure that it's not going to cause any issues. Like making sure it fits in the automatic waterer over here. Making sure that she doesn't automatically get it off, or that it's not causing some obvious discomfort right off the bat. And we're just going to keep a close eye on her, make sure that this is a suitable grazing muzzle. Fingers crossed. I have a lot of hope for this one. It's tough one. Grazing muzzle. I want to take a moment to address some very valid concerns about the ethicalness of grazing muzzles. One argument against grazing muzzles is that they are cruel and mean. Now, keep in mind that domesticated horses, they have access to much richer grasses than their wild counterparts, and it doesn't stop them from being able to graze. It just slows it down to a safe intake. I liken it to if you or I were to eat with a small spoon as opposed to a large serving spoon. So it just slows it down. Another valid concern is that grazing muzzles are uncomfortable, which they can be if they're not fitted properly. They absolutely can be if they're too loose. They can cause rubbing. If they're too tight, it can impede circulation. But most grazing muzzles, if fitted properly, you won't have an issue as long as you're keeping it on them for just short periods of time. It's not meant for 24/7 wear. A lot of grazing muzzles are made with lightweight material. They have padding. They are now making grazing muzzles with airflow in mind. As with any equine equipment, there is definitely room for misuse. For example, a bitless bridle, a saddle, anything has the potential for misuse. So you just need to keep that in mind and use it how it's intended. There is also the concern that it can impact their teeth negatively, but studies have shown there's no long-term negative effects from using grazing muzzles as long as it's fitted properly and you're keeping with reasonable wear times. Some say, well, they can still eat around it, so what's the point? Well, it can significantly reduce the intake anywhere from 30 to 80%, and that can mean the difference between a healthy horse and a laminitic one. At the end of the day, nobody wants to be abusing their horse or neglecting them or causing them any discomfort. So you really just have to use your best judgment. Have a conversation with your veterinarian, see if it is right for your horse. It is not for every horse. It's not even for every obese horse. It is just a useful tool for a percentage of horse owners. It's ultimately your decision, and nobody should make you feel judged for it. You never know why a horse isn't wearing one. You just be the best advocate for your horse. That's all you can do. All right, so that concludes today's video. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to watch any more videos like that, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, leave a comment if your horse has to have a grazing muzzle on and why that is. Also, let me know what type of grazing muzzle you're having success with, because this is probably the 4th one I've had to try. Thanks so much. What do you think, Saoirse? I'll let you know if she reports me to HR.